Venice awoke beneath a pale rose sky, the first light of dawn spilling across the rippling waters of the Grand Canal like liquid gold. From the balcony of his centuries-old palazzo, Vincent watched the city stretch and yawn, the soft hush of morning, broken only by the distant toll of church bells and the gentle lapping of gondolas against stone embankments. He stood there, impeccably dressed in a tailored dark blazer that caught the dawn's glow in subtle highlights, lost in the memory of happier beginnings. Just beyond those massive carved doors, Monica prepared for her day's work, her reflection framed by crystal chandeliers and frescoed ceilings. Today's shoot was set along the same waterway below, and she moved with the grace of a queen regaining her throne. Her dark locks were pinned back loosely, a few tendrils escaping to brush against her porcelain cheek, and the camera adored her. But more than anything, she craved the quiet intimacy that only Vincent's presence could bring. Their love story had always felt destined, crafted from whispered promises on moonlit verandas and laughter echoing through cobblestone alleys. They had fallen into each other's arms the first time they met on a film set. Monica, the timeless beauty with eyes like polished onyx, and Vincent, the brooding force of nature who spoke in half smiles and magnetic silences. Together, they had composed scenes of passion both on screen and off, their chemistry intoxicating to everyone who encountered them. But as the seasons passed, their union began to wear thin. Endless travel schedules drew invisible lines between them, stretching trust to its limit. Paparazzi flashes turned tender private moments into tabloid fodder, and soon, they were actors trapped in a drama of their own making. Vincent masked his fatigue with feigned enthusiasm, and Monica learned to hide her loneliness beneath layers of expensive couture and practiced smiles. This morning, though, something in Vincent's gaze seemed colder, as if the reflecting water below had seeped into his soul. He pressed his fingertips against the wrought iron railing, feeling the faint tremor of unrest in his blood. His mind wandered back to last night's dinner at the Palazzo Ducale restaurant, where exotic wines and sumptuous dishes had failed to ignite the usual spark. Instead, he found himself distracted by the bar's enchanting new bartender, a lithe woman with a knowing glance and an effortless grace. Monica, on the other side of those doors, was oblivious to his inner tempest. She ran a slender hand over the silken fabric of her dress as she stood before a full-length mirror, adjusting the neckline to perfection. A team of stylists buzzed around her, fussing over every detail: the precise sweep of eyeliner, the soft sheen of caramel lipstick, the delicate drop of a diamond pendant at her collarbone. She smiled politely, her mind half on the shoot's storyboard, half on the coffee she'd missed that morning. Across the canal, gondoliers began their daily rounds, their voices echoing as they called to tourists still asleep in their staterooms. Merchant stalls opened, unfurling bolts of hand-painted silk and baskets of fresh fruit. The scent of roasted coffee beans drifted upward, mingling with the salty tang of the lagoon. In Venice, each dawn heralded possibility, yet for Vincent and Monica, this morning felt different. An urgent prelude to a reckoning neither could yet imagine. With a final breath of the crisp air, Vincent stepped away from the railing and moved inside, brushing off the faint chill that clung to his tailored jacket. The soft click of his heels on marble floors announced his return to Monica's side. She turned, radiant and unaware, her smile a fragile lighthouse guiding him home. As their eyes met, the world seemed to hold its breath. The promise of a reunion shimmered like a mirage. Yet beneath that fragile hope, doubt pulsed like a quiet wound. Venice, with all its opulent beauty and whispered secrets, bore witness to countless tragedies and triumphant rebirths. As the morning sun climbed higher, casting long golden beams through arched windows, a shadow lingered in the corners of their shared story, an uninvited guest whose presence threatened to unravel every vow they had spoken in the glow of love's first light. Vincent reached for an antique Venetian mask on a nearby table, its blank expression a quiet reminder of hidden truths. He paused, unspoken doubts weighing on him, before stepping back toward Monica. Tomorrow, separate flights to Cannes and Rome loomed, distance more perilous than any bridge. Dawn arrived with promise and a silent warning. Nothing remained unchanged. He knew the dawn's glow could not erase the shadows gathering behind his eyes. Under the pulsing neon haze of Los Angeles night, Vincent found himself drawn down a long corridor into an exclusive underground lounge. Velvet drapes muffled the chatter of Hollywood's glitterati, and the air tasted of exotic spices and aged whiskey. Murmurs of fame and fortune drifted from every corner, but Vincent perceived only one figure, a slender silhouette behind the polished mahogany bar. Her name, he would later learn, was Isabella, a former dancer turned mixologist whose eyes shimmered with knowing secrets. Isabella moved with feline grace, her high cheekbones and crimson lips catching the strobe lights. She handed Vincent a cocktail tinted deep purple, foam laced with edible gold dust, and whispered, "This one's for dreams you've been too afraid to chase." He raised the glass, mesmerized by its fiery glow, and tasted it. A rush of warmth spread through his veins, as if he had swallowed the sunset itself. In that instant, the distance from Monica seemed to evaporate, replaced by a reckless new craving. Across the city, Monica lay awake in her suite at the Ritz, eyes fixed on the pale moonlight slanting through sheer curtains. Nightmares trailed her thoughts like dark ribbons. She saw Vincent's silhouette entwined with another woman under a chandelier's glare, heard his soft laughter interwoven with unfamiliar whispers. Each dream left a hollow ache in her chest, and she could no longer ignore the gnawing suspicion that had taken root in her mind. She reached for her phone, but hesitated, unwilling to wake him with an accusation born of restless sleep. Back in the lounge, Isabella leaned closer, her perfume a salve to his frayed nerves. She traced a finger along the rim of his glass and spoke of liberties taken and boundaries crossed. Vincent, disarmed by her confidence, felt the barrier of his marriage dissolve. He knew somewhere deep beneath the swirl of bourbon and bittersweet surrender that he was making a choice that would scar the hearts he loved most. Yet the velvet shadows beckoned, and he followed. They danced to a slow, sultry melody, Isabella's laughter a jasmine scent in his ear. Cameras hidden behind one-way mirrors captured every furtive glance. In that den of mirrored walls, he was both tempter and tempted. When her lips met his, it was as though the city exhaled, the night itself consenting to this secret transgression. Guilt flickered in Vincent's mind, Monica's soft smile, the promise in her eyes, but drowned quickly by the intoxicating thrill of the forbidden. Meanwhile, Monica rose before dawn, restless and pale. She paced the length of her suite, touching each photograph on the wall, snapshots of love at first sight, stolen kisses on Venetian bridges, laughter shared beneath Tuscan skies. In each image, Vincent's smile reached his eyes. In her heart, his absence felt like a wound. She pressed her hand to her abdomen, where life blossomed. If only they could find their way back to trust before the shadows claimed their joy. In LA, the night surrendered to violet streaks of dawn, and Isabella slipped away like a dream, dissolved by morning light. Vincent stumbled onto the curb, the city awakening around him. Joggers on the boulevard, street vendors stacking their cases, coastal breezes brushing his skin. He fumbled for his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed home. Each ring echoed a prayer, that Monica's voice would calm his racing heart, that the warmth of her morning greeting might cleanse his remorse. When Monica answered, her tone was reserved, soft but distant. Vincent's confession tumbled out, halting and raw. The golden dust cocktail, the dance under strobe lights, the stolen kiss. Silence followed, weighted and sure. In that moment, he realized that temptation's price was far steeper than he had ever imagined. Monica did not cry or scold. Instead, she spoke with quiet resolve. "We have lost something sacred tonight. We must decide if we can ever rebuild on such fragile ground." As Vincent watched the sunrise over Hollywood Hills, the guilt he carried felt heavier than any role he had ever played. The darkness had seduced him, but the dawn, Monica's forgiveness, remained uncertain. The chasm between them yawned wider with every breath, and he wondered if love alone could span the distance. The city around him sparkled with possibility, yet in his heart, only one promise mattered: to find his way back to her light before it was extinguished forever. Vincent stepped off the train at Santa Lucia station, the humid Venetian air wrapping around him like a cloak of regret. His reflection in the polished marble floor was that of a man hollowed out by remorse. He had flown from Los Angeles at dawn, driven by a single desperate hope: to rebuild what he had so recklessly shattered, Carrying only a small leather bag, he navigated the labyrinth of canals and narrow alleys until he reached the palazzo where Monica awaited him. Every footstep echoed the fracture between them, each corner turning into another memory of laughter now tainted by betrayal. Monica met him in the grand salon, its frescoed ceiling and ornate mirrors once symbols of their shared dreams. Now, the room felt cavernous, its beauty accentuating the distance she had placed between them. She wore a simple black dress, her hair tied back in a sleek knot. No stylists, no distractions, just her eyes, cool and unreadable. Vincent's heart lurched as he took in the lines of her face, tracing the subtle tremor in her jaw. For a moment, he imagined time could reverse itself, erasing the events in Los Angeles. But he knew better. Bridges burned leave only smoldering ruins. He began to speak, voice thick with apology. "Monica, I cannot undo what I've done, but I swear my love for you is the one truth I've never betrayed." His words hung in the air, fragile as spider silk. Monica's response was a single measured breath before she turned away, gazing out at the canal's dark water. "Truth?" she whispered, her voice so soft he almost missed it. "You traded truth for a cheap thrill, and you expect me to welcome you back?" Vincent closed the distance between them, gently touching her shoulder. The warmth of her skin was a reminder of all they once shared. She did not flinch, but her hand, when it rose to his, trembled slightly. "We built something beautiful here," he said, voice cracking. "I know I fractured it, but I'll spend every breath trying to repair it." Monica finally turned, tears glistening at the corners of her eyes. "Repair? You don't get to choose when the bridges burn. You were the one who lit the match." Memories flooded through him, their first gondola ride under a canopy of lanterns, her laughter echoing off ancient stone, the morning they danced barefoot on the balcony, the sun cresting the horizon, the night he peeled grapes for her in a private courtyard, promising forever. Each recollection stung now, a bittersweet echo of innocence lost. Monica watched him, arms folded, heart guarded. "You could have chosen differently," she said, voice firm. "But you chose to walk away." Silence stretched, heavy as molten lead. Outside, a gondolier's low song drifted through open windows, haunting, melancholy. Vincent took a step back, chest tight. "I can't offer you more than my regret," he admitted. "I'll never stop loving you, but I understand if you never trust me again." Monica's eyes shone with unshed tears, not of sorrow, but of resolution. "Then this ends here," she declared. "I need to protect my heart, and any path forward with you is a path mine no longer wishes to walk." With that, she swept past him, each step deliberate, her silhouette retreating into corridors they once navigated together. Vincent stood motionless, the echo of her footsteps a funeral march for their shared past. He had come to rebuild, but instead found the foundations crumbled beyond his reach. The palazzo's opulence mocked him, its marble floors colder than any courtroom. Out in the canal's misty twilight, Vincent wandered aimlessly, the pungent scent of brackish water filling his lungs. He recalled Monica's final words, "Any path mine no longer wishes to walk," and felt the gravity of his own making. The bridges he had set aflame, with a single act of weakness, now separated him from the woman who was both his greatest love and deepest sorrow. In Venice, a city built on islands joined by countless spans, each bridge was a promise. He had broken theirs. At dawn, he stood on a deserted stone bridge, the city slowly stirring around him. Sunlight glinted off the water, illuminating the path he would never tread again. In his chest, a hollow space remained where hope once lived. The world carried on. Gondolas drifted, church bells tolled, tourists snapped eager photos. Yet Vincent felt a silence more profound than any sound. As he turned away from the bridge, he knew some crossings, once destroyed, cannot be rebuilt. And so, with the weight of his choices pressing upon him, he walked on, alone, across the fragile stones of his own making. Months passed, like drifting gondolas on a still lagoon. After the confrontation in Venice, Monica accepted a role in an independent film shot in Paris. She traded the sunlit canals for narrow cobblestone streets and foggy, sane mornings, immersing herself in work to mend a wounded heart. Vincent, meanwhile, remained in Rome, haunted by memories of love's collapse and driven by the ache to atone. His days became a blur of script revisions and location scouts, each assignment a desperate plea to fill the void Monica left behind. One crisp autumn evening, Vincent boarded a TGV bound for Paris without warning. The compartment rocked gently as the train crossed the countryside, golden fields giving way to the city's distant silhouette. He rehearsed his words over and over, knowing that no apology alone could rebuild what had burned. Still, he clung to hope that shared history might kindle a spark in Monica's guarded eyes. At Gare de Lyon, the electric hum of arrival jolted him from his reverie. He navigated the platform and stepped into the bustle of Parisian commuters, the city lights reflecting off wet pavements. Memories flickered, the first time they walked along the Ile Saint-Louis hand in hand, tasting gelato as dusk deepened. Now those streets held a bittersweet echo of laughter and promise. He found her name on a call sheet taped to a soundstage door behind Les Halles, Bellucci. His heart thundered as he paused, gathering courage. Inside the cavernous lot, crew members adjusted lights and booms hovered overhead. Monica stood center frame, eyes closed as the director murmured his instructions. Her posture was regal, yet vulnerable, the simple black coat she wore doing little to conceal the tension in her shoulders. When the camera rolled, she became the character, strong, determined, yet haunted by past loss. Vincent watched from the shadows, reluctant to break the illusion, but unable to turn away. Between takes, he stepped into a sliver of daylight, filtering through a skylight. His voice cracked as he called her name. Monica froze, placing a hand on her chest as if warding off a sudden chill. The world around them stilled, humming generators, muffled footsteps, distant honks on Rue Rivoli. All faded. She walked toward him, each step measured, the film's deadline forgotten. "Why are you here?" she asked, eyes guarding both compassion and caution. "I had to see you," he replied. "I came to tell you there isn't a day I don't regret what I did. But also, there isn't a day I haven't hoped you might forgive me." His words trembled on the edge of confession. Monica's gaze settled on his face, searching for sincerity beneath lines of worry. "Forgiveness isn't a bridge you can demand," she said softly. "It must be rebuilt, stone by stone." She turned, lifting her chin. "But I won't lie. Part of me still wants to believe in us." They walked together through winding corridors of the soundstage, past props of fantasy worlds and half-finished sets. Vincent stopped at an old wooden door painted pale blue, the scent of fresh paint lingering. "This place," he began, voice hushed. "It reminds me of Venice, our palazzo, the way light and shadow dance." Monica nodded, tracing her fingertip over the door's chipped edge. "I'm learning to trust the light again," she admitted, "but only if the shadows prove themselves worthy." She glanced skyward through a skylight, where a faint star still lingered against the brightening sky. In the following days, Vincent stayed in Paris. They shared long breakfasts of croissants and espresso in a quiet cafe overlooking the Seine. Sometimes they spoke of trivialities, the latest art exhibit, a new play at the Comédie Française, allowing laughter to seep back into the spaces between them. At night, they wandered the Ile de la Cité, where its centuries-old bridges seemed to mirror their fragile reconciliation. One evening, beneath Pont des Arts, once a symbol of eternal love, they paused. Lovers' locks still clung to the railings, though many had been removed. Vincent produced a small padlock from his coat pocket, its silver surface gleaming. He sketched their initials and the date of his arrival in Paris. Monica took it, her fingers brushing his. Without a word, she locked it to the bridge and tossed the key into the river's gentle current. As the lock swung free in the dusk breeze, he felt the weight of past mistakes begin to lift. The Seine carried the key away, an unspoken covenant that they would forge a new path, one built on honesty, patience, and the courage to face shadows together. When dawn broke over Paris, it found them side by side, leaning on the bridge's railing. The sun rose pale and hopeful, painting the water in strokes of rose and gold. For the first time since Venice, Vincent saw in Monica's eyes not only forgiveness, but a rekindled faith in their shared future. The storm had passed, and in its wake stood two hearts ready to navigate whatever tides lay ahead, united by the light they had rediscovered after the darkness.